Everybody, this is Darren Sabedra again, Bay Area News Group, Mercury News, East Bay Times, here with Joseph Dycus, Mike Lefkow, taping this on Tuesday night after I did a little jury duty service, performed my civic duty earlier today. I will not be on the jury, but anyhow, I'm here. And Joseph, how are you?
Doing great. I was just at some flag football. It's a very exciting time. Very exciting sport. Just want to say we debated whether just to have me and Lefty do the show, but as I told Darren, he is our Ernie Johnson to me and Lefty's Kenny Smith and Charles Barkley. It wouldn't be right to just have two of us do it.
So the three of us are here.
Football, do they ever hit each other? Or?
They're not supposed to hit each other, but
I mean by mistake.
Yeah, some of them didn't look like they were by mistake, I'll tell you that. It gets intense.
You're going to tell us all about it. Joseph and Alex Simon are working on a story targeted for the front page of the Mercury News and East Bay Times, plus another story, kind of a vignette type story, kind of like our Monday Morning Lights, but on girls, for girls flag football. So looking forward to reading what you guys give us, and look for that later this week or early next week in the Mercury News, East Bay Times, on our website. Sign up for that digital subscription as always. But we have some games to pick. There was a little separation last week. I don't want to myself on the back, but a 13-2 week, I think I might deserve two pats on the back. What do you guys think?
Not my best week.
Not your best week. 8-7. Mike Lefkow is 10-5. We took one game off the board, the Camp Olinda Windsor game, which finished in a tie. Before we get to our topics, I want to get Mike Lefkow's thoughts on Kevin Macy going for the tie, or settling for the tie, not going for the tie. The game was tied, and I guess the officials left it into the hands of both coaches, and the Windsor coach wanted to continue, and Kevin Macy, whose team played a double overtime game to open the season and lost a tough game to Amador Valley 6-0 in week 2, just said his kids were spent, and physically and mentally, and he just felt that call it a night. You on board with that, Mike Lefkow?
Well, I think as he gets older, I think he just feels that protecting his players might be a little bit more important than going overtime and getting a winner and loser in this game. He's not really thrilled about what's going on right now. He feels that Camp Olinda should not be a Division I school in NCS. His team is a little bit down this year, and I think he feels that this is part of the building process, but he's not going to endanger his kids. And he felt an extra, basically a fifth quarter would probably be a little bit too much for his team right now. I support it. I think
given what that team's been through, on 1-1-1 with this team after everybody that they lost from last season's team, I can see that. I mean, that was a Windsor missed a field goal in the last few seconds, a short one that would have won the game. So if you're Kevin Macy, you're feeling, we dodged that one, right, Joseph? So let's get to our topics for the night. We've got a big one in Danville on Friday night with McClymonds traveling to San Ramon Valley. McClymonds won last year in Oakland over the Wolves 45-42. Luke Baker for San Ramon Valley threw for over 500 yards. We all know this should be a great game. But both teams are going to have to play De La Salle later this season. In fact, McClymonds has a bye week next week and then travels to De La Salle in 2 weeks. Mike Lefkow, we'll start with you. Can one of these teams end De La Salle's 32-year dominance of East Bay teams? Now, if McClymonds wins, De La Salle there's still that NCS streak that De La Salle has going, because McClymonds is not in the NCS, it's in the Oakland section. But can one of these teams, I think you mentioned it a couple weeks ago, maybe even last week, you thought San Ramon Valley could. I assume you haven't changed your mind.
No, I think that one or maybe even both can. I mean, it's going to be tough for McClymonds. They're playing at De La Salle this year, and that makes it a little bit more difficult. But yeah, I do think San Ramon could be the team that ends it. I think this is an exceptional team. I think it's going to depend on what kind of attitude they go into the game with, because I think some of the EBAL teams, just like most of the East Bay teams, they get a little intimidated by De La Salle. And I think that intimidation is beginning to wear off. But I think a lot of it's just going to depend on the attitude that San Ramon Valley has when it goes into that game.
Joseph, what do you think?
I think that if I had to pick between the two teams to beat De La Salle, I would lean with San Ramon Valley, just because I've seen McClymonds play and you've seen them play. McClymonds is a very physical team. They like to run the ball. The thing is that their passing game is not the best. And I wonder, do you want to try to out-physical De La Salle, especially in Concord? You know what I mean?
That's a very good point, because the teams that have beaten De La Salle, I mean, Sarah's pretty physical. Sarah's not pretty. They are physical. But the teams that have beaten De La Salle over the last couple of years, with the exception of maybe St. Francis, you look at St. Mary's of Stockton, and we'll talk about that because the Spartans are going to be playing St. Mary's on Friday night. But these teams know how to pass and move the ball downfield quickly. Folsom is another team that does what St. Mary's does. So, I mean, that's a very good point, that I don't think with 29 players, even though they're 29 really good players, I don't know if McClymonds has the depth. And you're right, San Ramon Valley, they're going to get them at home, like Mike alluded to, and they can move the ball through the air, which is key. Now the question is, will they be able to protect Luke Baker?
That's the $1 million question.
That's going to be the key. But of course, those games are a couple weeks down the road. De La Salle has a team that is not intimidated about playing De La Salle. Mike Lefkow, you were at St. Mary's last season, and I remember your early tweets, and I think De La Salle had an early 2-touchdown lead, and I'm like, they got it going on. And then the next thing I know, De La Salle's down double digits. How good is this St. Mary's team? And can they go into Concord and win Friday night?
Oh, they can go into Concord and win Friday night. I mean, this St. Mary's team, they're very smooth. They're very calm. The quarterback is intelligent. He doesn't panic. He stays with the game plan. They do a great short passing game, or at least that's what they did last year. Their receivers are talented. They've got big linemen. They can play physical. They're a very good football team. And I'm not that familiar with the situation up in Stockton, but I think that they get the bulk of. I mean, I don't think there are many private schools battling for these kids up in that area. Mm-hmm. You have Central Catholic of Modesto, and now you have St. Mary's of Stockton. You have Ripon Christian, but that's a smaller school. So I think that they get a lot of the kids in that Stockton area. And there's some good high school programs in that Stockton area, but I was very impressed with St. Mary's last year.
I have seen St. Mary's a couple of years ago, and even though they lost the De La Salle that day, and St. Mary's quarterback that day got knocked out of the game on a vicious hit. I want to say it was Lou Hearns, but I'm not 100% sure. Was it Hearns? Do you remember that hit, Lefty, a couple of years ago?
Yeah, I don't recall.
I can't remember who hit it, but it was a vicious hit. Joseph, you're going to be covering that game on Friday night. You're going to see what it's like there in Concord on a big game. What are you most looking forward to?
Really, it's just I've heard it's a very small stadium. Like it almost feels like the crowd is on top of you, I guess.
Oh, you've never covered a game there at all. I thought you covered an EPAL
Well, this is your
game.
first time at De La Salle?
Oh yes, I'm very excited to go there and just see a
that's
game.
right. You covered them at California last year.
I did.
Okay.
So I've covered a De La Salle soccer game in that stadium. I feel like a football game is probably a little bit different atmosphere.
This one, I would guess that St. Mary's is going to bring a crowd after what they did to De La Salle last year. Cal Preps is predicting De La Salle to lose by double digits. I don't remember any NorCal team being favored by the computer over De La Salle by double digits. Do you, Lefty?
No, that's kind of surprising. They picked them by what did they pick them by? 11, I think. 11 or 13.
Or 13, I think.
For what it's worth, I was looking at Cal Preps and their imaginary matchups, I guess. I put in Bosco versus Sarah, and Bosco's favored by, I think, 10 points over Sarah. So I would take the Cal Preps computers with a grain of salt.
Sarah, which Sarah are they playing?
Sarah of San Mateo. I did their, you can pick a matchup.
Okay.
So.
Interesting. Well, 11 is the spread
30,
here. 35-24. So De La Salle's going to have a big challenge, obviously. Before we get to the picks, let's get your thoughts, Joseph, on Reardon. You were in San Francisco last week to see them play St. Bonaventure. Reardon was going for a 3-0 non-league record before moving on to WCal play. They fell short, but you were impressed by Reardon's passing game, even though the Crusaders finished with just a couple of touchdowns.
Yes, they between Chris Lawson, Tyrone Jackson, and Sinai Thomas, the three. Chris Lawson, of course, was at Foothill last year. Sinai Thomas at Menlo-Atherton, and Jackson at Oakland Tech. Those three guys, man, they were getting open almost seemed like whenever they wanted. Even when they weren't open, they were going up and making contested catches. And I was thinking to myself, man, they look unstoppable. And then I looked at the score in the fourth quarter, and it was 7-3. And I was like, how did they only scored 7 points? And it's because St. Bonaventure lined up with a tight end or two, fullback, running back, and a running quarterback, and they just pounded the ball. And the clock just went down, limited the possessions, and then a few breaks in the fourth quarter, they end up with a 10-point win. So very impressed with the Reardon passing attack, and I think they can win any high-scoring game if they have to get into it. But as Darren, as you know, some of those WCal schools, they can run the ball too. They're big
very
line.
physical. I'm curious to see what happens in the WCAL teams are off this week and they start league play next week. Reardon's got SI, and SI, after getting beat pretty badly in its opener against obviously we've discussed this team, very, very, very good San Ramon Valley team. They've come back with two very impressive wins over over Jesuit of Carmichael and Cathedral Catholic of San Diego. The WCal, I mean, I'm not sure. We'll get more into it next week, but it's going to be a very interesting race. I think Sarah has separated itself from everybody else, but after that, it's going to be.
You could pick like 5 teams from the WCal and say you're going to finish second. I would probably believe it.
Right. It's going to be a very interesting race. We'll get more into it next week. We'll get more into it in the Monday Morning Lights coming up this coming up Monday. So you guys ready to get to the picks?
Yes, sir.
Let's go.
All right. We got 16 games here. We're starting off Thursday in Gilroy, where Christopher at 3-0 is going to be playing host to Overfelt at 2-1. I got Christopher winning this one. Mike Lefkow, who you got?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Christopher.
I'll start off with saying, give me Overfelt.
Overfelt for Joseph Dycus taking the road under. Well, we don't know if it's an underdog because Cal Preps didn't pick this game. There was no score on this one.
Yeah, they didn't pick any of the Thursday games.
Yes. Let's move on to Friday. Starting off with the red hot Grizzlies from California traveling to Pittsburgh. California 2-1, Pittsburgh 3-0. Pittsburgh coming off a very tight 10-7 win over Monterey Trail last week. I'll let you go first, Mike Lefkow. Who you got?
Oh, I'm going to go with Pittsburgh. I think Cal played very well against Enox, but Pittsburgh's a little tougher than Enox.
A little different. I got Pittsburgh winning too. Joseph, who you got?
I'm going to go with Pittsburgh too.
All right. Game 3 on the list. Castro Valley against Deer Valley. This game's going to be played in Antioch. Deer Valley, after losing, how many in a row was it? Was it 18?
I think so.
17 or 18.
They've won 2 in a row, and they're going for 3 in a row. And they're going to go up against 1 and 2, Castro Valley. And I got Deer Valley winning 3 in a row. I'm taking Deer Valley. Joseph, who you got?
I'm taking Deer Valley too. Matt Mills done a great job with that program in year 2.
Mike Lefkow.
Yep, make it 3. I'm going to go with Deer Valley also.
Wow. Game 4 on the list. This is going to be a very, very interesting game where Monte Vista coming off a thrilling 40-30 win over Bellarmine, traveling to red hot, at least defensively, Amador Valley, which last week beat Acalanes. The week before shut out Campo Lindo. And the week before that, barely lost a tight 14-7 to El Cerrito. Monte Vista's ranked 12th by us. Amador 16. We'll let you start, Joseph Dycus. Who you got?
Give me the home team. Now,
Whoa.
I wonder how many, is it going to be a 7-3 game? Will it be a 2-0 game? I mean, this defense is pretty good. I wonder what the score is going to be.
The Monte Vista quarterback's coming off a 5-touchdown game, I think, against Bellarmine.
What is it, a movable object versus unstoppable force? Which one wins? We're about to find out.
We're going on Amador Valley. Curtis Pashelka is scheduled to be there for us, so we'll have coverage at mercurynews.com, eastbaytimes.com. Mike Lefkow, who you got?
I'm going to go with the Mustangs. I think this is a game we're going to learn maybe learn a lot about both of these teams.
Mm-hmm.
They're different types of teams. But one thing to keep in mind right now is Amador is playing without its number 1 quarterback.
Right.
And even though I think it's Aiden Foley has done a great job in backing up, I mean, Monte Vista, I think, is a pretty good team this year.
I've got Monte Vista winning on the road, too. This is going to be a fun atmosphere. I look forward to reading about this game. It should be good. I forgot to mention who Cal Preps has. Cal Preps has Monte Vista winning 19-14.
Okay.
They had Deer Valley winning 35-28 and Pittsburgh winning 31-21. Game 5 on the list, Dublin making the trip up to the North Bay to face Windsor. We know Windsor probably a little upset after coming home with a tie against Campo last week. Dublin off to a 3-0 start, so hats off to Dublin. But I think that that unbeaten start is going to end this week. I've got Windsor winning. Mike Lefkow, who you got?
Yep, I got Windsor also.
Joseph?
It's going to be 4-0. Give me Dublin.
Whoa, Joseph going with Dublin. All right, and the computer has, it says it's going to be a barn burner with Windsor winning 31-28. Cal Preps has Windsor on top. Terra Nova 3-0. At Fremont of Sunnyvale 2-1. Fremont of Sunnyvale off to a very nice start. A lot of players in the program. 101 total, I think, and they played their first freshman game. I think it was since 1979.
Wow.
Last week. It's been a long time, but anyhow, they're hosting Terra Nova. Terra Nova's 3-0. I got Terra Nova winning. Joseph, who you got?
I got Terra Nova winning as well.
You got Terra Nova winning this one? All right. Mike Lefkow?
Yep, call it a hat trick. I'm taking Terranova.
All right. Piedmont Hills, 1-1. Their one loss was to Christopher. They're taking on Silver Creek 3-0. This is going to be at Silver Creek. Glenn Reeves for us going to be there to cover this game, so we'll have coverage. MercuryNews.com, EastBayTimes.com. Mike Lefkow, we'll let you go first. Who you got?
I'm going to take Piedmont Hills in this game.
All right, Joseph.
I think Piedmont Hills is favored by the computers, if I remember right. But screw the computers. Give me Silver Creek. They're at home. They're going to win.
And I got Piedmont Hills, and the computer has Piedmont Hills 26-21. I forgot to mention the computer has Fremont of Sunnyvale beating Terranova 28-27. This computer thinks there's going to be some really close games, or whoever picked these games for us this week.
Oh, man. Who did pick those games?
Joseph, hats off. Tip of the cap. Game 8 on the list. Lee, 2-1 at Santa Teresa, 0-3. I look at Santa Teresa's schedule. It has not been easy. I think Santa Teresa gets its first win of the season. I think Steve Pappin will be all smiles. I'm taking Santa Teresa to knock off Lee. Mike Lefkow, who you got?
Yep, I agree with you. I looked at that and I went back and forth, but I think this is a week that Santa Teresa finally gets its first one.
Joseph?
I know Lee is coming off that loss against Mountain View, but I'm just thinking, man, I think Lee's going to go to 3-1.
All right, and the computer agrees with you. Has Lee winning by 2 touchdowns.
Ooh, I don't know about that. I don't know if I'd pick that.
21-7. Game 9 on the list. Palo Alto traveling to Los Gatos. These are rivals from the old Santa Clara Valley Athletic League De Anza division. They're now in the PAL, and they're not in the same division. I got Los Gatos winning, I'm going to say comfortably. Mike Lefkow, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm taking the line to pick Los Gatos in this one.
Joseph?
Los Gatos.
And the computer says Los Gatos 42, Palo Alto 7. So the computer thinks it's going to be a one-sided game. Santa Clara, Milpitas. Milpitas on the verge of 3-0, going up against 1-2 Santa Clara. I got Milpitas. Joseph, who you got?
I'll take Santa Clara.
And Mike Lefkow?
I'm going with Santa Clara.
And the computer says Santa Clara by 21. Milpitas by 21, 52-31.
It's a high-scoring game.
I know. What's up with
Yeah,
that?
it does a little bit of a strange score.
Sacred Heart Prep ranked 18th by us, traveling to Hillsdale. They are now ranked 23rd by us. Hillsdale's 3-0. Sacred Heart Prep 2-1. Joseph, I'll let you go first.
Sacred Heart Prep, even though I think Hillsdale's had obviously a great season so far, I think Sacred Heart Prep gets a win.
Mike Lefkow?
I think it's going to be a dogfight, but I'm going to take Sacred Heart Prep.
And I've got Sacred Heart Prep 2. So 3 for Sacred Heart Prep, and make it 4 because CalPreps' computer has Sacred Heart Prep winning 27-14. Clayton Valley at 1-2, traveling to Turlock 0-4. Did a little homework on Turlock because that 0-4 kind of surprised me, but man, Mike Lefkow, look at the schedule. Rockland, Clovis West, Central, Fresno, Folsom. Pretty tough.
Yeah, that's a very tough schedule. They're not shying away from anyone.
And now they're going up against Clayton, Turlock at home. Sure, they'll have an atmosphere there. I got Clayton winning, bouncing back from its loss to Oak Ridge last week in the Honor Bowl. Joseph, who you got?
I've got Clayton Valley too.
Mike Lefkow?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Clayton Valley.
Computer says Clayton Valley 24-17. We got 4 more games left. Oakland Tech at Tennyson. Tennyson 0-3. Wasn't Tennyson supposed to be good this year?
They were.
What's going on? I know they had a bunch of transfers. I mean, are they not eligible?
I don't think they're eligible.
I don't know. Is that the case?
I don't know. How are they 0-3? But anyhow, they're at home. Oakland Tech is 1-1. Computer says Oakland Tech 31-24. I say Tennyson gets his first win. Mike Lefkow, who you got?
I'm going to go with Tennyson. Tennyson's opponents are 9-1.
Okay.
So they have been playing some good teams.
Okay. Joseph Dycus.
I mean, I'll take the OAL school. I think Oakland Tech wins. I think it's going to be very close, though.
Computer says Oakland Tech 31-24. Okay. The one in Concord. De La Salle 1-2. Spartans finally got a win last week. Beat St. Francis in a game that was closer than the 35-17 score indicates. Just like the 28-0 loss to Sarah the previous week for De La Salle, that game was much tighter than 28-0. St. Mary's of Stockton's 3-0. Mike Lefkow, I'm going to let you go first. Who you got?
I'm going to go with De La Salle. I think they pull this one off. Maybe I'm remembering the last time St. Mary's played down in Concord and did not fare too well. So I'm gonna go with the Spartans.
Joseph.
I'm going to go with the Spartans because for the same reason, I was looking back at the history between these two schools. De La Salle has dominated for a while. Also, it's my first game covering a game in Concord, and I don't want to see a De La Salle loss. So I'm going to pick
I got De La Salle winning too. I expect De La Salle to run, and run some more. I expect it to be physical. The De La Salle secondary, it's a very young secondary, but it's going to have to be on its game. The pass rushers are going to have to be on their game. And De La Salle's offensive line, probably the most important position in this game, is going to have to be doubly on its game because they are going to need to run the ball and they are going to need to eat clock. Because we all know, right, Mike Lefkow, that St. Mary's of Stockton can move the ball.
But the De La Salle last year, I don't know who's calling the defensive plays for De La Salle this year.
Alamo?
Is it because last year St. Mary's stuck to that short passing game the whole game, and De La Salle didn't make a lot of adjustments. And I think the De La Salle's going to have to make some adjustments, and I think they will. I just have a feeling De La Salle gets them this year.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a physical game, and I think De La Salle is going to remember last year, and they are going to figure it out, and they're going to win. Let's go to the Saturday game first before we pick Mac San Ramon. We got Battle of Atherton. This is always weird for newspapers that would call Menlo School without the school, just Menlo-Atherton against Menlo-Atherton. Because Menlo School is in Atherton. That's why they added the school. So we got Menlo School at home against Menlo-Atherton on Saturday afternoon. MA is 1-2. Menlo School is 3-0. Joseph, who you got?
Give me the home team. I'll take Menlo School. Go to 4-0.
Wow. Mike Lefkow, I've got MA winning. Who you got?
I'm going to go with Menlo-Atherton, the Bears.
All right. And the computer says MA wins 19-10. The computer also says St. Mary's of Stockton wins over De La Salle 35-24. Last game on the list. San Ramon Valley, ranked third by us now, 3-0 against 2-0 McClymonds. McClymonds has yet to give up a point. They beat Bellarmine 40-0. They beat Bishop O'Dowd 45-0. And San Ramon Valley has blowout wins on the road over a very good San Ignatius team, very good Acalanes, and just thrashed Elk Grove last week on the road. So home opener for San Ramon. I'm going to be covering this game. It was really hard for me to pick because I think it's going to be very close. But I'm going with the home team. I thought the home team won last year. The home team will win this year. San Ramon will win. They'll figure out how to score and they'll beat McClymonds. Mike Lefkow, who you got?
Yeah, I think this is a really good San Ramon Valley team. There have been many very good SRV teams in the past, but this one is right up there with the best of them. So I'll go with SRV.
You're going to the Wolves. Joseph Dycus.
So my head says pick SRV, but my heart says, you know what? I saw McClymonds' defense and its running game, and I think they're going to do everything in their power to do what St. Bonaventure did Reardon, which is run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. And I think McClymonds wins in a lower scoring game than you'd expect. 17-14.
Whoa.
And this is also, by the way, battle of two very good kickers, and Isaac Espinosa and Austin Shelton. So it comes down to a field goal. Both teams know they can get 3 points.
Espinosa in warm-ups was kicking easily 55 yards at San Jose City, warming up for the Bellarmine game. I mean, maybe even 60, the distance on his kicks. Computer has San Ramon winning 31-22.
This is one of those games where you pick the home team.
Yeah. Anything else you guys want to add before we call it a night and get ready for week 4?
As always, we appreciate your readership, subscriptions, and Athlete of the Week nominations. Keep those coming in.
There you go. Mike Lefkow, any parting shot?
Yeah, there's just one game really under the radar that kind of intrigues me, and it's because I'm a recruiting buff, but that Granada at Berkeley game is a game that I've been looking at. Both teams have good quarterbacks. Both teams have 2 good receivers. And this is a game that I think could end up being a terrific game. And I think after this game, both these teams will go to North Coast. I think both teams will have 7 wins or more. I like these 2 teams. I'm very intrigued by this game.
Very good. You heard it here first. Granada, Berkeley. Check it out.
I think Granada wins. They're bigger up front. But I love that Benjamin Thurman at Berkeley. 6'4", 215, 4 offers. He's only a junior. And they think he could do anything from playing wide receiver to edge. I think Granada has Quinn Boyd, the quarterback, who's 6'4". I mean, this is a really intriguing game.
All right. Well, I'm sure that game will be in our roundup, right? The always popular best of, and in this case would be best of week 4. Look for it on Saturday. That's a wrap. Be sure to get a digital subscription. We're smashing records over here, right, Joseph? Smashing records.
We are.
So keep signing up. So anyhow, that's a wrap for the week 4 prediction show.